Hello everyone and welcome back to Spoiler Warning, and I start with fantastic news that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. My roof isn't leaking. I know. It's strange because it's been about a year now to actually get this through, but yeah, not a leak, not a drip. Everything's actually working, which I don't believe, and things will eventually crash. But until then, wrestling, because we are going to be talking about basically the news that comes after a heavy wrestling weekend. We've had AEW Double or Nothing. We've had WWE in Saudi Arabia for King and Queen of the Ring. I have news on what's going on with Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. We have also news on Gunter as the new King of the Ring, Nia Jax as new Queen of the Ring, Logan Paul's future when it comes to SummerSlam, and of course more on MJF and Double or Nothing. So it's not exactly the most news-packed, but the news that you're going to get is still pretty interesting. We are starting, as always, with our top story. This is as regards Becky Lynch and plans for her future. Do hit like as you join the stream. We have 36 people here and only the 11 likes. Every little does help the growth of the channel, so please consider doing so. Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch won the championship in the Battle Royal after Rhea Ripley was forced to vacate, fully intending at that time to lose it to Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan was aware of this at the time. The WWE, particularly Triple H, went over a different number of options available to him, covering when she could potentially win that championship and what this would mean for Rhea Ripley. And a large part of this has depended on Rhea Ripley's return schedule. But Becky Lynch was said to have refused to win the championship if she didn't get to lose it to Liv Morgan. As regards Becky's contract, it is apparently set to expire, but WWE sources are so confident that a new deal is going to be struck that I'm pretty confident it already has been. When it comes to Becky Lynch, she is looking for a limited date deal. That offer is now on the table, and it will allow her to spend more time with her family, more time doing things that she wants to do, including, much as we're seeing with Roman Reigns, lots of opportunities in Hollywood. Becky Lynch was due a break. She did return to put over Liv Morgan. That's why she came back early before anyone starts. That is exactly why it happened. Now she gets the opportunity to basically work it out. Triple H does not want to give the game away on this. Becky Lynch is not one to talk to the press. Any news that comes out about this will likely come out through Triple H and not a moment before. As I've said previously, I'm expecting an announcement soon. The WWE only haven't announced something so far in order to keep things questionable as to whether or not Liv Morgan will be picking up the wins. Liv Morgan has a rematch with Becky, or against Becky, on tonight's Monday Night Raw, but Liv is the focus going forwards. And working with Dominic Mysterio allows both Dominic and Judgment Day to essentially move on from Rhea Ripley into other storylines, other characters, and in Dominic Mysterio's case, other kinks. It also means that should Buddy Matthews become available, as WWE are hoping to bring him and the entirety of House of Black into WWE when their contracts subsequently expire, Rhea won't have a #X in the picture. The idea is that Rhea Ripley will likely be returning as a face, not a heel. As such, a heel Liv Morgan working with Judgment Day really works in her favour. For Becky Lynch, the plan is damage control in the near future, but a new deal has to be struck first, unless of course, as I've mentioned, it already has been. So that is the situation with Becky Lynch and with Liv Morgan. I want to say a big hi to everyone who's joined the chat already. I can see so many of you asking questions. Caitlin says, do you think MJF will ever come to WWE now? Nope. More on that later. Eric says, any news on a return date for Jamie Hayter? Not at this point. They're keeping that one very much to themselves. Spider-Boss says, Mommy Rhea Ripley is going to be angry after seeing her Dom help Liv win the women's world title. And that is a phrase which is just strange in every way. Robin Dave says, congratulations on the roof, Tom. I know, little victories, but a victory nonetheless. About a month from now, guys, I should have a new house. So about a month from now, it'll be an entirely new roof that is just something new to fret about. Knight122 says, has Becky re-signed? Why are people saying she's leaving? I've given you every detail I have in that first piece of news. Just zip back 5 minutes and it's all there. King Azza says, hey Tom, I think CM Punk will win Money in the Bank and cashes in on Drew at SummerSlam, which is a very interesting call, which I will be discussing shortly. Eric Douglas says, thoughts on Gangrel's return? Kinda pointless. Ishii says, hello Tom, hope you're okay. Doing well, thank you. I've had a good day out, celebrating a bank holiday here in the UK, which meant I haven't had to work today. That is one of the main reasons that this show went live quite late. Doing well, Eric, how about you? Clowns are not scary, says hi Tom. Clowns are not scary, that's a name. Khalid says, hey Tom, happy to see you again, mate. Happy to see you too, Khalid. Dylan says hi Tom as well. Sean says, Adam Pearce said a little bit ago that Becky versus Liv tonight on Raw will be a steel cage match. Do you see Becky regaining the championship or a screwy finish leading to a rematch at Clash? I see a screwy finish and radio silence. DM says, hi Tom. Hello DM. Spider-Boss says, Becky versus Liv on Raw tonight. Dominic is getting involved in some way to help Liv. Ishii says, imagine House of Black versus the Wyatt 6. Chris Leclerc says, Mercedes, Money and Bayley are champions same time and same year. To be fair, we're very close to 3 out of 4 horsewomen being champions again. Sean says, isn't Malachi contracted until 2027? I've read that, yes. Clan says, any Uncle Howdy update? I've shared more details than anyone else. As regards Uncle Howdy, check out my other spoiler warning videos for more information. Khalid says, I can't wait to see Rhea Ripley face turn and versus Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. I don't see a face turn, I just see her turning up and already being a face. Keenan already shared every bit of news I've got on the Wyatt 6. Juan says, Mercedes, Money and TK went on to party after the media scrum for a title win. Kind of weird. Sean says, WrestleVotes is saying Becky is re-signed already. They're not the only one, if you've been following what we're doing here. Spider-Boss says, 2 successful Money in the Bank cash-ins. CM Punk could be called King of Money in the Bank. It would then become free if successful at SummerSlam. Noob says, seems like Damage Control is going to be a threat while Asuka is away. Yep, they are considered very high up on the echelon of competitors, not necessarily women, competitors. Gervin says, I wish Tony Khan's pay-per-views were only 3 hours. Last night was long. Aaron says, sounds like a good day so far. It has been, thank you. Robin Dave says, are you ready for Roman to return to reclaim his throne as head of the table? I am not. And neither is he. Spider-Boss says, how long is Julia Hart's AEW deal? I unfortunately do not have that information. The other Mike says, do you think House of Black and the Y6 are kind of repetitive? Nope. Not at all. Very different. Y6 can somehow feel like that because they still haven't ever existed. How can they be repetitive? We saw them for less than a minute in the entirety of WWE. Nice says, when is Seth scheduled to return? Around Royal Rumble time next year. At current, around Royal Rumble time next year. Robin Dave says, what's your prediction on when Uncle and the Fiend, when Uncle and Friends are returning? Soon. I've got my eye on next month. That's what I've got my eye on personally. I'm glad you're asking for a prediction. Dylan says, I know you already talked about it, but I still don't understand why people hate Becky. Like, she's done so much for this industry, that her winning the belt and then giving it to Liv. Because people hate success. That's all. Spider-Boss says, I thought Damage Control was going to cost the match to Becky at Saudi Arabia, since Damage Control tried to ambush Becky. Dominic Mysterio was the choice instead. The story is not about Becky, it's about Liv. DM says, there's a lot of talk about Punk screwing Drew in Clash, but I don't think they go this part, because it's too predictable, and after do you see Gunter World Champ at SummerSlam? More on that very shortly. Nice says, wait, the Rumble, why that long? It wasn't an ACL tear. At the moment, they are working towards the Royal Rumble as the return date for Seth Rollins. I cannot sit here and say why. I just know that that's the return date they've got listed. King Adder says, if Rhea didn't get injured, would they have done the same finish with Liv? No, I've covered this extensively. They would be nowhere near Liv Morgan winning the championship. Juan says, according to TK himself, is considering adding AEW women's tag team titles. Brilliant. Another idea that Mercedes Money might get TK to sign off on. Gervin says, I want Becky Lynch to take a break from WWE. Bailey says, what is the longer term booking for Lyra Valkyria? More on that later. And Danny says, hello there, Tom. Becky versus Liv in a steel cage match tonight for the women's championship. Hopefully Liv will retain. Second piece of news. We have just hit 100 views, 86 people watching, only 32 likes. 3 more gets us to 35, and let's keep this ball rolling. The more likes we have, the more people here, and that does mean the more questions. The longer the shows go, the more news I can get. My next piece of news is as regards Gunter and his position as King of the Ring. Gunter became first choice for King of the Ring after the Lesnar match was pulled after the Royal Rumble event, and subsequently, Sami Zayn was drafted in to replace Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania. This is Triple H's way of keeping Gunter strong, knowing that the loss was going to happen, that Sami Zayn was going to defeat Gunter. It also means that we're now going to get Gunter versus whomever is the world heavyweight champion at SummerSlam. Let's break this down a little bit, because the existence of Gunter in that position changes things. For me, this increases the chances that McIntyre loses his match with Priest at Clash at the Castle. Gunter might have long been planned to be king, but the idea of the SummerSlam match, not so much when it comes to the king. That's a relatively new idea that Triple H came out with. That said, if CM Punk is taking longer to recover than expected, which he isn't, McIntyre versus Punk at a later date could be a stronger possibility. It could be that they just want to be cautious, maybe they're overextending CM Punk, and they want to, essentially in the same way as Rhea Ripley is doing, they want to bring him back at SummerSlam rather than have him in a match where there's a lot of pressure on him during SummerSlam instead. It does throw things nicely up in the air, allowing the possibility, long term, that McIntyre will challenge Gunter at next year's WrestleMania, where Gunter is champion. See, for example, a world in which Drew McIntyre does not beat Damian Priest at Clash at the Castle. Instead, he does take on CM Punk at SummerSlam and then has to rebuild again. Instead, Damian Priest holds the championship a little bit longer, loses it to Gunter at SummerSlam, then he goes on to face Finn Balor over the next few months. Gunter holds the championship, faces off against a litany of different faces, before eventually taking on a Drew McIntyre who wins the Royal Rumble for the second time. That is what I could see as a very strong possibility, and honestly, I find the concept pretty exciting. I would have no issue with that, and in fact, would very much enjoy it. Next piece of news will be about Nia Jax and Lyra Valkyria. Richard says, did I miss Becky news? Yes, you did. Zip it back to the beginning of the show, it's all there. Spider-Boss says it confuses me, so the plan has been CM Punk versus Drew at SummerSlam and now Gunter won King of the Ring. Yes. Robin Dave says Gunter is going to face Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. Where does this leave CM Punk and Drew? Suggests that Gunter versus Drew McIntyre is not the plan. Sean says, this is from Fightful Select, Tom. Thank you for sourcing. Julia suffered a wrist injury at a Marigold show. WWE is hopeful she'll be ready by NXT Heatwave, and she'll be presented as the female face of NXT, expected to surpass what Asuka, and WWE won't change anything about her presentation. So, rolling that back. The report about the wrist injury at Marigold, that was first reported by Marigold. I reported first that she would still be ready by NXT Heatwave. I also reported first, before she announced the signing with WWE, that she'd be the female face of NXT and that she'd be going straight for the championship. The first person to report that. As regards expected to surpass Asuka, that's not the plan. They want Julia up in the WWE main roster sooner rather than later. Having her in NXT for as long as Asuka was simply doesn't suit their purposes. Luke, I like what they're doing at the moment. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I think the fact that it's Bo Dallas means that it can't really be in poor taste. He knew what his brother wanted. DM says, I think they should do Liv versus Rhea at SummerSlam ladder match with the title and Dom hanging on top. The winner get both. I don't think either of them will want him. Danny says, come on guys, smash the likes up, and please do if you're able to. We have 90 people watching right now, 46 likes. 6 more, count them, 6, yes I had to count my fingers there, 6 more gets us up to a nice round 50, and when we get to a nice round 50, we tend to also get to a nice round 100 viewers. Little things that make a big difference. If you haven't already done so, please remember to hit that thumbs up. Spiderbell says, Michael Cole made mention of Brock during the King and Queen of the Ring broadcast. Anything new about Brock? Nope. Selvig says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. I want to know, is the Y6 stable going to be shown around June, as they hinted 6/24, which means June 2024? If so, is it sooner than we think? As I've laid out, it's gonna be soon. I expect it before SummerSlam, that's as much as I can say. Razar says, Mercedes killed it last night, I'm so happy to see her back in the ring. Daniel Berry says, hey everyone, happy Monday Daniel. Sid says, what were your thoughts on AEW Double or Nothing? More on that later, we do have quite a bit on Double or Nothing to come. Eric, I've already covered everything I have at the beginning. Zip back and watch it. Kevin says, why did Triple H announce the winner of the tournament getting the championship really later? Because now they get a championship match. Where's the downside? Danny says, what's next for Randy? Bumming around a little bit. He's got a few different opportunities and people to work with. I personally suspect versus Cody is still a possibility, just not yet. John says, do you believe Triple H will make a rematch between Randy and Gunter since Randy's shoulder was up? There already is a rematch. announced. The match will happen, the crown will not change. David Leary says, was Randy getting his shoulders up during the pin part of the match? Nope, but Triple H is considering it a happy coincidence. It means they get to go again, which means money. DM says, I don't see a world where Drew loses twice in UK PLE main event world title matches. That still may happen though. King Arthur says, Tom getting Cody versus Randy at SummerSlam. That's not the plan according to my knowledge, but that could certainly change. Dylan says, when do you see Cody and Randy having a match? As I've said, at some point in the future. Kevin says, I don't think Drew McIntyre loses again at Clash of the Castle. Then I don't think he actually gets to the championship at SummerSlam. We'll see what happens. Kayla says, thoughts on Sasha Banks winning the AEW belt. More on that later. Spider-Boss says, Liv, I've already read that one about 1,000 times from people. Roger says, do you think NXT is as good? I think NXT was better when it was 1 hour on the WWE Network. Don't watch it regularly, can't comment. Sean says, Ava is going to announce Roxanne Perez's challenger for the NXT Battleground. Do you think it'll be a main roster star brought down to face her? Nope, because they've just done that. It's McCade says, hi, how are you? Hi, it's McCade. Dylan says, Tom, what are your thoughts on SummerSlam in 2026 being 2 nights? I'm a little intrigued, but at the same time a little bit worried about how it's going to work. It will essentially be WrestleMania in the middle of the year. It's a trial for future events. I do expect we're going to hear about a 2-night Royal Rumble sooner rather than later. And yes, it's a bit of an apology to Minnesota. Robin Dave says, I couldn't even finish the last 2 matches to AEW last night. I got too tired. Danny, yes, I am indeed aware. More on that later. Sid says, the live stream is going perfect on YouTube. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that. Tristan said, is Andrade going to get used more now that the King of the Ring is finished? What's the correlation there? I don't understand. DM says, I think Cody may not defend the title in Clash since it's clearly that Drew versus Priest will headline the PLE. He'd be more than happy to not main event. Clown says, will The Undertaker appear again? One day, yes. Kevin says, wrestling fan want to see Bayley win championships, and now wrestling fan don't want to see Bayley champion no more. Yep, pretty standard. The other Mike says, you mentioned Roman will be in a bloodline civil war when he comes back, so you think Roman Cody 3 happens anytime while Cody the champion. There is eternity in which Cody Rhodes may be the champion. TJ says, Tom, thanks for the inside information as always. Do you think we get a split personality with Bo, as in Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy, or do we get Taylor Rotunda, Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy? At the moment, Uncle Howdy is the only one planned. Bailey, there are constantly discussions happening about where SummerSlam 2025 will go. Spider-Boss says, Drew has been more screwed than Bret Hart. This fuels more Drew. Kaylin says, a lot of AEW fans seemed upset that Sasha won the AEW title. More on that later. King Arthur says, if Drew does not win a Clash at the Castle, it would be bad since Cody losing at WrestleMania 39. And what happened when Cody Rhodes lost at WrestleMania 39? What was the end result of that? You guys remember? Then he says, will Tyson Fury be a Clash at the Castle? Maybe. Spider-Boss says, TK needs to cut short a little bit of the match card of pay-per-views. AEW's pay-per-views are quite long. DM says, but if Randy versus Cody is not the SummerSlam plan, who has enough star power from SmackDown to main event the second biggest PLE of the year with Cody? Why does SmackDown have to main event it? Danny says, will Alexa Bliss be back for SummerSlam? I've already given all the details I can on Alexa Bliss. Sean says, Pro Wrestling Finesse is saying, and I stopped reading, Pro Wrestling Finesse does not report news. They don't report news. They re-report what other people are saying. Eric, I don't know who the Rowhead brothers are. Roger says, who's your favourite champion in all of wrestling? Right now, Bayley. Spider-Boss says, what's next for the US title? That news is incoming. So, next up, we are talking about Nia Jax. We have just hit 100 viewers plus. We're at 103 people watching. 49 likes, one more to 50. Let's keep that ball rolling. Keep those numbers increasing. 160 views so far. We can certainly do better. Nia Jax was booked for the Queen of the Ring win early on, particularly around the area in which they decided the event would happen. She was already designated as leader even before Gunter. This is primarily because of a lack of hot heels at the top of the women's division, primarily the SmackDown women's division, and Nia Jax versus Bayley was already being discussed. Also, much like Gunter, Triple H believed that Nia Jax needed some reheating after losing her match to Rhea Ripley, and of course the ongoing feuds with Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. This was also part of why Becky Lynch was able to convince Triple H to make some changes and get Nia Jax more involved on Raw before the draft happened. Bayley does need challengers, and Jax is in a prime spot for the shot, as I've already reported. WWE continue to be very impressed with Nia Jax's work, and they are eager to see whether she can maintain her heat with another top-level opponent. Another top-level opponent, of course, in this instance, is Bayley, but WWE are thrilled with what she's been doing, and they don't see any reason to slow down her momentum. There is a concern at this point that we're starting to see a lot more respect. So, I don't know. Things are working out. Hector says, Tom, is only SummerSlam 2026 going to be 2 nights? Or could 2025 also be in that position, considering they haven't announced a location? Can't really answer that question. As I say, the conversations are still actively happening. So with this in mind, nothing is finalised and everything is on the table. Dylan says, who do you see winning Money in the Bank? Because at this point, I think just because he needs a big victory, Jey Uso. They will not give Jey Uso a win if he's not going to win the cash-in. TJ says, thanks, Tom, for addressing my question. Just one more. Is it possible The Undertaker also gets involved with the New Wire faction? Nope. Clown says, is the faction to debut actually going to be called the Wire 6? At the moment, there's no name planned. Juan says, hey, Tom, isn't it kind of ironic TK is finally firing people, trimming down the roster plus a new creative team, yet it's still being crapped on by others, goes to show can't please everyone. To be fair, the man has made enemies. We have a troll who's questioning the reporting. Now, if you're honestly questioning the reporting, that's fine. We have plenty of people in here who can set you right. However, I can see that you just had a message deleted because, well, you don't know what you're doing. There's always a troll in the chat, guys. We are successful enough now that we always have trolls. So remember, say hi to the troll and say bye to the troll. Because funnily enough, trolls and saying hi and then bye to the troll guarantees more people in this chat. Still 49 likes, guys. One more to keep us rolling. And thank you, Ed, for looking after us. Eric asks about a Rhodes Brothers reunion. I'd imagine they reunite all the time. They are, after all, brothers and like spending time together. Danny says, do you know what's going to happen with Kiana James on Raw? Any in-ring match coming? As I previously reported, at the moment, backstage vignettes. And then, curiously enough, I reported it, and then that week, the first backstage vignette happened. Sean said, is Becky going to win the title back tonight, or does Liv retain? I am not going to report the answers of the actual matches tonight, otherwise why would you bother watching? Spider-Boss says, Bayley and Nia had good matches in NXT. Last time Nia and Bayley faced each other was when Nia and Shayna defeated the Role Models at Payback, which, to be clear, was a great match. Eric says, do you think Nia could be a face? Yes, eventually. Eventually. Now, probably not. Eventually. DM says, to answer your question, because Cody's the face of a company now and they wanted to main event all PLEs, they don't. That's not true. They do not want Cody Rhodes main eventing every PLE. They don't. Bailey says, your thoughts on Chad Gable as a heel? Massive success so far. Please continue. Danny thinks Randy Orton and Tiffany Stratton will win Money in the Bank. A lot of love and a lot of hate for trolls at the moment. We have a second troll, guys. Someone coming in and telling me to stop begging for likes. Well, I'll tell you what, wrestling is fake. So you're clearly here in good faith, aren't you? Clearly someone who enjoys wrestling enough to come on a wrestling stream with that ridiculous name, aren't you, Pointless? I will stop begging for likes just as soon as you leave me a like, because I guarantee you still engage with the video. Did you leave me a dislike? Did you? Because that also helps grow the channel and bring me viewers. So please keep coming. Luke S says, will Brock be back soon? Nope. Robin Davis says, idiots. You can't fix them. And it's true. You can't. King Azza says, are we getting The Rock versus Cody at some point this year? Nope. By the way, guys, I can see all the high trolls and the buy trolls. It's great. Please keep that rolling. The viewership is literally still going up. Told you. Chat rate. You guys are making magic here. Sean says, who do you believe wins the NXT Women's North American Championship? I see Fallon Henley. Personally, I would go for Tia Hale at the moment. She's in a good spot. Ishii says, who do you see the Y6 going after first when they come? Again, I'm leaning towards Cody. He hasn't really got opponents at this point. Kaylin says, thoughts on MJF mentioning Vince McMahon on AEW. More on that later. Spider-Boss says, Nia as babyface didn't last long in 2018. Yeah, because she broke Becky Lynch. DM says, did you see the Drew tweet? He posted, seen a photo during his entrance in ECW and right, that's Priest in Glasgow except no aura. Oh man, he buried him badly. Yeah, everyone's cool with it. Billy says, how do you do? Doing good, thanks mate. Doing good. Really enjoying the trolls. Really enjoying it. Like, they're genuinely doing me favours. Chat rate's massive right now, guys. The chat rate is massive. In fact, I'm just going to organise it by chat rate. Chat rate has peaked to a point right now that it's basically 50% higher than it's been so far. You know why? Trolls. Y'all are doing me the service. Sean says, do you think the rest of Alpha Academy turn heel with Chad? Nope, I think they punch him in the face and then get beat up by a different tag team. DJ says, Tom, I know I keep on asking about the Wire faction, but thoughts just keep coming up. Do you think Uncle Howdy keeps his current theme when he returns? Nope. Chris Leclerc says, Dakota Kai and Randy Orton will winning Money in the Bank. I'd love Dakota Kai to do it. That would work beautifully. Eric says Tatum Paxley for the NXT Women's North American Champion. Sid says, will we see Otis versus Chad Gable anytime soon? I think it's going to take time. I'm enjoying the build. Like, I'm really enjoying the build. That's helping me. So, I'm there for that. And I'm excited for the big fight that will result. This is going to get Otis over in a way that we haven't seen for a very, very long time. So, personally, very excited. Ooh, wow. The intelligence of this troll. Thank you, Ed. Look how intelligent that troll was. Like, something about them screams class. Screams, I'm here for a good reason and you're the problem. Wow. Yeah, Dylan, it's funny because this is one of the times I haven't actually mentioned it on Twitter. Apparently, we're just doing numbers because the trolls are finding the trolls. It's not actually 5 trolls one, it's basically the same person just keeps going back and thinking they're important. Trying to derail. Ah, that's a shame, Spider Boss. Boo. McGregor says, why does AEW keep mentioning WWE on their show? Clickbait. She says they go after Cody first, but neither Uncle or the faction and Cody get buried. That's not really a question, mate. DM says, any update about Adam Copeland's injury? Nope, nothing really. Robin Dave says, some of those trolls are jealous of your success, Tom. I mean, I've never heard of their channels. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Spider-Boss says, fans already chant, you suck to Chad Gable. Please give Gable the gold medal theme song. He already has a theme song. They're already chanting you suck to it. Why would they change it? Miss T says, hi, Tom. How long do you see this Jade and Bianca tag team lasting? What has the feedback been of the work they've been doing as a team? Essentially until Charlotte returns and they can start putting them into separate feuds. I really enjoy them as a tag team. It's really helping Jade Cargill to hit the ground running. And the longer they can do that, the better. Plus, right now, they just don't have much for Bianca Belair. Marcel has Tiffany winning Money in the Bank. Zayn wants to see the B team. B team, go, go, go. Robin Dave says, I think Uncle Howdy may attack Jey Uso. Just a guess. Also could be a good shout. Keenan says, will Alexa Bliss have a dark character? I've spoken extensively about Alexa Bliss in previous installments of Spoiler Warning. Keenan, if you want to head back and watch the show about the Wyatt 6, you'll find plenty of information there. Bailey just says, trolls are jobbers. It's McKay says, why do people have the nerve to hate acting like you're not even these people and you don't have to be blah, 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 blah. Because they have no purpose in their life. Like, in many ways, we're doing them a favour right now. A big favour. Like, I don't know. How to describe it? Without this show, they are entirely meaningless. And the hate that they have for themselves is the closest thing they have ever experienced to someone loving them. So they've just trained themselves to think, oh, if I can make this person hate me, I'll be important. Bless. They're yeah. Totally pointless. Then he says, will we see banger after banger from Sheamus in the future? I mean, if you're a Sheamus fan, of course you are. Spider-Boss says, Mercedes Money only said WWE isn't the only place to wrestle. People on social media get angry with anything that Mercedes says. Yeah, because she's successful. People hate success. Hi, trolls. Sean says, does NXT have any plans for Brooks Jensen? He hasn't been on TV since his team with Josh Briggs and Fallon Henley ended. Josh turned heel and so did Fallon just recently. There is a lot going on in NXT. I don't have the details of it. Dylan says, I shouldn't laugh, but it's funny that you keep getting trolls. I mean, they keep the show going. And the funny thing is, they're getting ads. They are getting ads which results in me getting paid. So they're giving me views, they're giving me ads, and, well, I don't know. Tell me what you think. Just fun. Danny says, who do you think wins Money in the Bank matches, Tom? Not sure yet. Well, I'm sure it'll become very clear in the weeks to come. Chris says, I'm loving the Bianca Jade Cargill team, but I'm intrigued to see how they'll break up, even though I don't see it happening soon. I'd be interested in Bianca as Miss Money in the Bank, I tell you that. Having her with that, knowing that Bayley is the champion, and they're not exactly 100%, that works for me. TJ says, Tom, I just wanted to share I was referred to you by Wrestling Days. I appreciate that, TJ. Wrestling Days has been a very, very good person to me recently, very, very helpful to me recently, and I have nothing but respect for the work that he does. I've enjoyed watching his shows. I've learned a lot from him in the shows I've heard that I have watched. I don't watch the live streams just because I don't really have the time, unfortunately, but I'm overall very happy with that. Sean said, did you see that Shotzi is in Mexico getting stem cells treatment for her back? She hurt 2.5 years ago. I did not. Thank you for letting me know that. Luke, I've already answered that question. Ed says, Jesus is the most modding I've ever had to do and while driving, King. Chris says, also good evening, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you. Pete says, have we spoken about the ridiculous pin by Gunter on Randy when only one shoulder was down? Yeah. Spider-Boss says, do you think that at some point WWE could pair Roxanne and Cora Jade now that Roxanne is a heel? Yeah. That was part of the plan. Sean says, we're busy Friday and could host Spoiler Warning. I couldn't host Spoiler Warning. And also, because of where it was, I wasn't planning to. Because of where, there's a reason I don't host the pay-per-views when it's a Saudi show. Where was SmackDown? Thank you guys for letting me know that you got the ad through. Billy, Brad, Juan, David, Marcel, Danny. Thank you very much for letting me know, guys. DM says, looks like every time AEW wants a cheap reaction, they know the only way to do so is mentioning WWE on their TV shows. Yep, that's always a cheap reaction. If they want a genuine one, they can put on good wrestling, which they do. Let's talk Logan Paul and the United States Championship. Also, 57 likes. 3 more to 60. And if you hit like, you are going to piss off a troll. Logan Paul versus LA Knight was originally planned for WrestleMania this year. This was cancelled late on, well, sort of early this year, I should say, but late on in its gestation period in favour of returned Randy Orton. The WWE weren't fully aware that Randy Orton would be 1, returned, and 2, firing on all cylinders, even though Logan Paul had asked for the match, so the match was pushed back. It is now in contention for SummerSlam, after the WWE went with Randy Orton instead. The WWE are impressed with Logan Paul's concepts. You've seen him posting and sharing that he had asked for the camera angle. They're also impressed with how invested he is in creating the best visual spectacle, particularly in his match against Seth Rollins, where he had a lot of suggestions that worked really well. Also, he seems to really like going through tables. Bless him, so do I. While his work is solid, his reign has been unrewarding. Triple H at this point would very much like to get the championship off him and back into general population. All focus now is firmly on SummerSlam. While they are building towards Clash, while they are building with Money in the Bank, all roads lead to SummerSlam. SummerSlam will be the next big event where we will see serious changes. Until then, it'll mostly be tweaks and minor changes to the situation. Logan Paul versus LA Knight has been mentioned and is now in contention once again for SummerSlam. Spider-Boss says, I think Tiffany could be a good pick for Miss Money in the Bank. It works to build Tiffany more as a credible opponent for Bayley. Luke, you may be premium, but I still get a little bit in donation from your subscription fee, so I appreciate you. Sid says Tiffany Time is the only one that should be Money in the Bank. DJ says, Tom, do you think Taylor has been re-signed for a much higher contract since Uncle Howdy is currently bringing massive attention to the WWE? No. Bo Dallas is currently signed on the same deal he signed when he returned to the WWE with his brother. It's not the most lucrative, but it's a decent contract, and he's very happy with it. Chris said this past weekend's pay-per-views between AEW and WWE really showed how much quality over quantity matters. A lot of people apparently really unhappy with AEW right now. Danny says, do you think Tiffany will sit there again? Not sure what that means, Danny. Sean says, Lyra for women's Money in the Bank. Did I mention the part about Lyra? I did not. A little bit I want to touch on there. Thank you very much, Paul, for subscribing on the YouTube side. You get a notification every time we go live with spoiler warning. I didn't mention what I had about Lyra and Ilya, so let's do that. Triple H, with the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, was hoping to essentially launch the next generation without necessarily disrespecting the current generation, hence why someone like Gunther or Nia Jax picked up the win. They're going to be main eventers going forwards, whereas Ilya, Lyra Valkyria are not going to be. At the same time, Triple H wanted to make it clear that they're in good hands, that you should have faith that these individuals are going to be treated well, and that they're going to have a big impact going forward. Lyra Valkyria is likely to work with Becky Lynch against Damage Control, but of course we'll have to wait for Becky Lynch's quote-unquote return and re-sign for that to go active. As regards Ilya Dragunov, there is an automatic story in play when it comes to what's going on with Gunter. There's a couple more opponents ready-made for him, but we're not quite there yet. Personally, I think Ilya Dragunov versus Bron Breakker might be something we see once again sooner rather than later. But Ilya Dragunov, while he will not be featured week in, week out, he will be heavily protected, similarly to how Gunter has been under Triple H as well. Spider-Bell says, I think either Carmelo Hayes or Kevin Owens could be good options to take the USA title off Logan Paul at SummerSlam. Zane says, Bryan Danielson's Final Countdown theme song cost a ton of money to use at AEW Double or Nothing, source Wrestling News. Yeah. Peter says MJF promo was great though. Once to say, Tom, according to Brian Gewirtz himself, he believes AEW is more organised than WCW and will get that TV deal and a streaming deal. He confirmed your report. He can't confirm my report. He does not have inside information on a potential streaming deal for AEW. He can't confirm that report. Kelvin says, I saw a report from the New York Post saying Mercedes Money was cleared to wrestle in December. She wasn't. Gotcha, Danny. Thank you. Spider-Boss says, I think Paul Heyman's days with the Bloodline are numbered. I disagree. Hector says, I'm hoping for Ilya versus Sammy for the IC title at SummerSlam. That would definitely be a changing of who the IC champion is. Very much so. Next piece of news is in fact the final one. It is as regards MJF and Double or Nothing. MJF's return at Double or Nothing has been planned essentially since he left. There are a couple of injury details that he needed to sort out, but primarily because he carried the company on his back for so long, they just wanted to give him a little bit of time to rest up. As I've previously reported, he did sign a contract extension and a pretty lucrative deal at the time, quite a while ago, which will keep him locked into AEW for essentially a generation to come. There was never any doubt about his return. His contract is rock solid, as you're now seeing, by the way, reported by people other than myself as well. So it's not just me reporting it, which means that people are starting to believe it. MJF also isn't believed to be particularly interested in ever leaving, as he's guaranteed to be one of the top names in AEW, whereas he would have to essentially start again elsewhere. As regards the rest of Double or Nothing, Tony Khan looked at Double or Nothing as a gamble, if you'll forgive the pun. A refresh, a restart. Mercedes Money is back in the ring. MJF is returning as well, and we also have the current push, which a lot of stock is being put into, for Jack Perry. MJF versus Jack Perry is a big money match that AEW are currently building towards, and it's bringing in a lot of positive attention. Essentially, people who don't really like the way CM Punk has handled himself at times are kind of behind this guy. So while certainly they are struggling ratings-wise at times, there will be a new TV deal. I'm waiting on more announcements for that one. Tony Khan is confident, as are a number of different TV companies. They cannot formally bid yet, but bids are being prepared from best I can tell. People are interested in having that conversation. Things are going well. While, as I say, ratings might not be flying, in general, the quality of the shows continues, and Tony Khan is confident that they can take advantage and make something of what's currently happening. A nice bit of good news there. TJ says we'll be getting an evolved version of Uncle Howdy. You're asking for a lot of very intimate details, and while I've given as much as I can, I don't know what's going to be happening with Uncle Howdy in the future. When you say evolved version, we might see an Uncle Howdy that evolves in 3 years. It's a very open-ended question. Spider-Boss says if someone could beat Sammy for the IT title, it must be Chad Gable. So it says MJF a babyface. Yes and no. Pete says great to see Gangrel in the ring also. Sean says, do you believe MJF got a bigger reaction with his return than CM Punk got when he returned? No. So it says, will ITV ever show AEW live? No. Although again, incredibly open-ended question. Welcome, Jason. Danny says AEW's out of control with Young Bucks and Jack Perry getting hold of Tony Khan. See? You're interested. Spider-Boss says, isn't bad wrestling companies take shots at each other? People forget that AEW didn't mention WWE for a while until now. To be clear, MJF mentioned it, AEW didn't. Dylan says, just out of curiosity, how do you get your reports? Do you go to someone in the business, or do you just get insider information because you're a reporter journalist? Nobody gets insider information because of being a journalist. Now, I have spoken to and interviewed many people in the WWE. You can see plentiful evidence of that all over the place. I do have and have built contacts over the course of many years. I also built considerable contacts by going to local wrestling promotions and meeting people who may eventually go back to or start working with WWE. Also, for a while WWE was with Fox, I had one contact who worked for Fox. And curiously enough, no one ever saw who that was. It's the easiest piece of information to ever find. So it's one of those. If ever anyone calls me a liar and suggests that I don't do my research, I tell them to find out who my Fox contact is. It's really easy to find. You cannot pretend to know better than me how to journalist if you can't even find that. Genuinely, it's proof of how ridiculous some people are. Devin says, do you know what the plans for Mercedes Money are? Absolutely. I reported first that she'd be joining AEW. I reported first when she'd be returning to, when she'd be debuting at the company. I reported first what championship she was going for. Ain't nobody else mentioned the TBS title. I also reported Julia Hart. Now, that might not be happening immediately, but Mercedes Money has a lot of championship defenses coming with this championship. We're going to be seeing her week in, week out. TJ says, that's awesome, Tom. Just wanting to know whether we'll get this continuation for years. Super excited, as Bray's legacy deserves to be carried on, as well as Taylor deserves all the recognition. This is not a short-term storyline. This is a storyline that will last at least until the end of the current contract of Bo Dallas, which has years to come. Spider-Boss says, do you think Bayley versus Piper Niven is happening? Just have another Scottish featured at Clash of the Castle? Yeah, quite possibly. Sean says, when do you think Mercedes will go for the AEW Women's Championship? Long time yet. Danny says, I really want Kenny Omega to put them in their place, but won't be returning anytime soon after the attack from Young Bucks and stuff. Jason says, that's cool, you have some contacts in the wrestling world. I don't claim to be an insider. I really don't, because that's an insulting term. However, I have interviewed Triple H 3 times. All of that information and all of those quotes are easy to find. I'm not new to this. I'm not a completely random unknown. You can see the video. It's all there. It's all there. I'm going to wrap it up there. That's all the news I have for you. We did reach 277 views. We peaked at a very healthy 116 viewers. And yeah, we had plenty of trolls, but they were funny, weren't they? I'm going to wrap it up there. You will see me once again on Friday for more spoiler warning. Thank you, everyone, for being so enjoyable, so fun. Thank you, TJ. It's a very nice thing to say. I do try my best. Huge thanks to everyone. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.